start this. I think that, well, firstly, I'll open the meeting and welcome everybody here. And I can tell you how good it is to be home. There's no country like Australia.
Did you get any sleep last night?
A little bit more last night.
You took your baby home.
Yeah, a little bit more, but I'm still lacking. Still for apologies. With Councillor Matthews and Councillor Mulligan. And the General Manager. We better put Max down. Someone would like to move that we accept those apologies. Councillor Egan, I'll put the motion up in favour, sir. Confirmation of the minutes of the ordinary meeting held on the 24th of August. That's circulated, taken as read and confirmed, and someone like to move that way.
I move, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Colton and second Councillor Smith. Put that motion, those in favour say aye. Okay. We have a presentation, supposedly at 9 o'clock, he hasn't arrived yet, from a ratepayer, Bob Kanaki. I don't know anything about it, but we'll put him on when he turns up, I think. I call now for declarations of interest, gifts received and conflict of interest. Nothing to record. We do have an additional item, and it's to do with the tender for, isn't it, supply of material. Somebody like to move that we accept that on the agenda. Councillor Egan, Councillor Garland, those in favour say aye. Aye. Okay. Now, there's another one. No, that's it. Oh, yes, the other one is declaration of interest under the Code of Conduct. So can I include that in that last motion, please?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We just put an apology in for you.
Don't rush it.
Let's send that apology and welcome Councillor Mulligan.
Yes, thanks.
We may not have been able to come to that.
Councillor Mulligan started in.
He is hoping, mate. He is hoping.
This time last year you were?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yes, Mulligan, we've only just started and we've accepted the late items and apologies, and we have a presentation this morning sometime. Supposed to be at 9 o'clock, but he's not here, so we'll keep going. So the next item of business is the election of the mayor. I'll vacate the chair and I'll ask the acting GM to take over, conduct the election of mayor, deputy mayor. Yeah.
As returning officer, I'd like to invite nominations for mayor and deputy mayor.
Councillor John Colton.
I have two nominations. I have Councillor John Colton nominated for mayor by Councillor Catherine Egan and Councillor Tiffany Galvin. And for deputy mayor, I have Councillor Egan nominated by Councillor Colton and Councillor Dixon. And I have both their consents. As there's only one nominee for the position of mayor, I'd like to declare Councillor John Colton as the mayor for the next period of time. As there's no further nomination for the position of deputy mayor, I'd like to declare Councillor Catherine Egan nominated as deputy mayor. Congratulations to you both.
Thank you. Thank you.
Waste of play with that one, mate.
Thanks for the vote of confidence, everybody. It's certainly, I never take this for granted, the privilege to do the job. So, as you know, this will be the last time that I'll be on council. That'll be the same for all of us. But thanks again. And Catherine, would you like to say something?
Well, for the same reason, I'd like to say thank you. I'd like to say thank you to all the councillors I've served with and to the staff that have attended to us over the years. Thank you. It's been a pleasure. I'm not quite sure I'm going to say I won't be there next year if we haven't built a chamber.
You might be nice.
Keep going the time.
We've voted down anyhow.
Thank you, everyone. It's been a
Special.
The other thing that probably makes this quite a wonderful council is that meetings are always a pleasure to attend. And, you know, as you said, that's staff that we have anything to do with it. Absolutely wonderful, good friends. That's what I'm going to miss the most. Is the people.
I agree. That's what I.
Anyway,
on both of us.
better get on with it. The other thing now is the committee membership. And the recommendation is that it stays the same another 12 months.
So,
I'm very happy with that. You're moving that way, Councillor.
No,
Thank you. Councillor Gill. Second of that, I'll put that motion and vote say aye. Yes, okay. Now, the proposed meeting dates are difficult ones in a lot of aspects, as you would have read, where they may clash, but that'll be subject to change, I guess, if we adopt that.
The council meeting, I did, because we got an invitation and I wrote back to Cherise saying that I'd read it in this, is the 30th, not the 23rd of November.
Oh, the last Thursday's the 30th.
Yeah, it was moved to that because of you'll be in Sydney. So I did, because we got an invitation in our calendar and I wrote to Cherise and for the 23rd and I said after reading this, it's the 30th.
Is it right? Yeah. What's that? Would have been 23rd was clashing with the conference, was it? Or,
Yeah, must be, but yeah, that's what it says in here.
okay.
Yeah.
It's always the last.
It's always the last Thursday anyway.
It should be.
It's the second and last Thursday. That's what we normally do.
It was just in our calendar and
Right.
I wrote to
So
Cherise.
is that the case here? I haven't.
Yeah, it's on here. It's on right on here.
It's right here.
It's
So we
right.
can adopt the meeting date.
Yeah, it was just in our invitation that came.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't notice. So
Committee membership stayed the same.
yes, yeah, that was moved and seconded. And I guess I better take a lead for the meeting dates. Councillor Galvin, seconder. Somewhere, Councillor Smith. I'll put that motion there in favor, so aye.
Aye.
Okay. Still not here, so we'll keep going. The assessment report today for the demolition of the buildings in Maitland Street, Kingra. Is there any discussion on this?
No,
I think there should be. I'll take a mover, Councillor Egan, and seconded Councillor Dixon. I was speaking to Catherine about this the other day. It does seem strange to be pulling down a building when we haven't got a clue what the cost of the new one's going to be or what form it's going to take. And I understand that it can't progress really. Part of the progression is pulling the old one down. And I know that the old one's no good. So is that, are we going the right way? Does everybody agree that that's the way to go? The other thing is the facade.
It's
I understand it's the will of the public. Personally, I think it's ridiculous leaving it there. But if it's the will of the public, then it stays. Is there any comment on any of that? This is a very big decision, I believe, this council.
Thinking what other, what's the alternative, John? Yeah, I mean, to do nothing.
No, it's not really. But what I'm concerned that I haven't had any official figure of the new building, and I've heard $5.5 million with a $500,000 contingency. That's $6 million. I think that's living beyond our means. But anyway.
I thought when we first had this discussion it was only going to be talking about a figure of about 2 million or 2.5 million.
That's what I had written down.
Sort of 3, I thought. But if you know what buildings like, and I think that.
and the more that we're going to, the longer we're taking with this, the prices, building materials are going up, as everybody knows.
No, that's true, but I don't know that we've had enough investigation as to what we put there.
There has been 2 meetings with the architects, with all the councillors were invited to attend. So some of the councillors that went might like to talk about.
Yeah, I need some guidance on this because a bit happened while I was away, obviously.
I was at that particular meeting and I was proposed a bit like the mayor instead of, yes, shed, fill it in, do whatever, but then when Colin addressed us and advised of the building codes that we had to abide by and what we could and couldn't do and adjoining buildings, and it was just such a big major hassle to just, say, as we discussed, craft a shed and put walls on it and
I
whatever.
think that was unfortunate that I ever called it a shed.
Yeah, I
We're
know.
talking about steel frame, a steel frame, and we're talking about tilt panels.
Yeah,
Um,
but it was to do with windows and light
And cooling.
codes and sort of thing.
Yeah, well, I'll still stick my argument. I mean, what's that building in Belltown, Woolworths or something?
Big W.
Big W. They would have met the building code, and I don't even know if it's a cheaper way to go, but I think it should be investigated. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Paul made the remark that wood panels, those panels,
Yeah, concrete.
were just as expensive, didn't you?
Yeah.
He said that the cost was,
They're actually being used in the design of the new building. The front of that is all that tilt panel manufactured material.
okay.
So
I think-
we are using.
Alex made the point that if you put a tilt panel up, you don't have to put any lining. It's done. You've got the inside and the outside wall made. But I don't know. I don't think it's been investigated. Right. I know we're getting off the topic. We're talking about pulling the old one down. I guess.
I think that's got to go ahead no matter what.
Yeah, I think you're right. We're going to put a building up, and that's going to go on that site, so that's got to come down.
It's got to come down.
Yeah.
But we need to progress beyond dilly-dallying back and forth saying, oh, well, we'll look at this or we'll look at that. I agree we have to make these people totally aware that we have a budget,
Yeah.
that we have a very hard budget, and that we need it done yesterday, not 3 years from now.
Yeah.
Because if we dally that long,
It's going to
we
go
might
up
as
as
well
well.
walk away from it.
I suppose my concern is that you're going to pull a building down, have a big gap there for how long?
That's exactly what we're going to have, a hole in the centre of the community we need to progress on. But I know I said, yes, we could look at all of those. I didn't realise that external panelling was the tilt panels. I thought they were the sort of thing we needed to, but they're there.
I'm sure that's what Colin mentioned when we had the
big
discussion.
concrete bits it's got where it currently says Bingwa Information Centre that's going to actually say Guadalajara Council, their tilt panels, those big bits.
Okay, well, obviously that costed all that, factored it in.
Yeah.
The heating and the cooling you did speak about, but that's going to be wherever we are. At least this way, when it's not one big, it can be sectioned off into 3 areas.
Yeah.
Look, I just feel that it's imperative that we get on with it, that we don't dally any longer.
I agree with that. I think it's our responsibility to make sure we're getting value for money.
I'm sure we're getting value for money. I think anything that puts the building back there gets the staff back working and productivity back to where it
I
should
wasn't
be.
referring to that.
No, but I mean, yeah.
John, I don't suppose there'd be any, probably not, but any sense in doing it in stages, like pick out the most vital parts that we need now and cut out a few of the parts that, even the likes of the conference room. I know it's pretty vital, but we've still got the Roxy where we can, that sort of thing. I don't know, but cut that one down.
I think it's all built as one. I think my understanding is it's all built as one,
Yeah.
and it's easier to do it as one and cost effective.
Probably
And cost effective to do it as one. And I know as you don't want it. None of us want to leave the next council in debt they don't have to be in. I see it as, and I've spoken to a lot of positive people in the town. Yes, there is a few negative, but you get that wherever you go with things. I've spoken to a lot of younger people that are positive, that reckon it's going to make the Shire move forward. It's something good for the Shire, and I keep going back to what Joe said however many meetings ago about what is going to be this amount of money today is going to be triple it, could even be next year.
Oh, we understand that, of course, but you made the point about we're leaving a pretty big bill for the next council,
We are,
which is something that concerns me.
and I've spoken to Helen in finance and who manages the finances, and I think if Helen said no, we can't do it, I've listened to Helen, but I think she seems
It always
positive.
tells me I can't buy gravy.
No,
Always do.
The thing is, it's a multi-generational build. It's not just this age group.
We're building a modern building
Yeah,
for younger people. I think that's where we've got to sort of.
I'm still concerned that there hasn't been enough research done in the type of building. I honestly think you can knock a couple of million off it if you do it properly.
Well, the thing is, we're passing a DA to knock it down now, and then we go out there and we search for the best price. Like, I mean, at the moment we're only going with one company, aren't we?
One company that's provided the estimate.
Yeah.
Well, it's Struxy, isn't it? The company.
No.
Struxy have gone out to another construction company that has to their
I thought Colin would have already done that.
Yeah, he has. It's been done. The company that we got the estimate from is a building company that we asked for an estimate. That's what Struxy went and got off this company.
Mitchell Bradman.
It'll go out to tender or whatever process the appropriate term for it is. And then we'll know exactly what it's going to cost.
So this is a company that will build the design by Struxy.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, only if we decide that.
At this stage, it is.
Yeah. But I mean, you go through it and you look at it, and they've got toilet holes, 3 of them. For God's sake, a piece of 1080 wire can do it for less than $114, but they're the costs that.
Councillor Egan, 1080 is a peak poison.
Oh, it is. What's the other one I need?
Number 10.
Number 10 wire.
Well, you could use 8 days.
Yeah, well, that's probably not. No, I'm going to
Chuck a bit of 1080 in there.
paper towels. We've only got 2, and they're going to cost us $570. If you go through things like that, I'm sure they're the areas.
And that's the detail that company's gone to.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, it is, and that's the figure that we've come up with. So I think we can find some comfort in that. And Joe wanted to.
I was just going to say that the next part of the consultation process about the building and how we can do that to engage the public more in that process. That public meeting, the figure of I think was 6 million was put forward, and there wasn't a lot of.
There was only one person in that whole room asked what the cost would be. We told them, and there was not one person.
What happy to pay for it, John?
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know about this end, but
I know we're putting a cart before the horse, but I had to mention the building before we pull the other one down. I felt, and if you're happy with all of that, then I'll take it. I've got to move in a second.
John, can we do a recap with Helen? How are we going to fund it?
So we borrowed money last financial year that was to cover, it's a combined loan because it's covering the cash issue we've got with all the roadworks we've currently got going on and the timing of payments.
Yep.
And then the rest then we can use it for the building. The statements are actually looking quite good this year. They get submitted tomorrow, and we actually do have some unrestricted funding left at the end of the year. It's not quite as dire as it's always been.
Yeah.
So
I figured, Max mentioned at the meeting the other night, a figure of what, 300,000 or something around.
yes, so the insurance
Insurance.
company,
That's
we've only got half of that.
That pays for the DA.
That's for the day.
That's for the little bit we got.
Yes.
I don't think you've answered the question. Like, getting a loan is not how we're going to pay for the building, is it?
How are we going to pay the loan?
How are we going to pay the loan?
So it'll come out of our operating budget every year for the next 15 years.
That's been it since 15 years.
Yeah, that's
So,
what
in other words, there's got to be some services cut to pay for this. We can't continue like this and we haven't got any money left to pay for a building.
No,
You know what I'm saying? So it's going to come out of.
it will be a new loan repayment, yes.
Yeah. I think that answers the question.
Without putting the rates up.
Yeah, well, that's right. That won't be our job. Will it?
Mr.
Might be yours, Councillor Smith, not mine.
There's a comment made about the prospect of having a building knocked down and an eyesore in the CBD until the building's built.
Yeah.
The new building is constructed. I think that to a large degree that can be mitigated by staging the demolition. The facade is staying anyway.
A little bit.
With some discreet fencing, it's not going to be looking like a construction zone for the entire time. We can work with
It'll be Adam's garage too, won't it? Going.
Yes. But I I don't see it as being an eyesore if we're smart about how we do the demolition.
That's right. Well, is any other comment? Are you prepared to vote on this? The recommendation?
That's where you want about 400,000 for 15 years. In the budget.
I can get you the figures, but like we've only borrowed, I think we only borrowed, what did we borrow from roads? 3?
5. It was 4 we needed and we got loaned for 5.
So we borrowed 5, yeah. So we will have cash surplus that we'll be able to pay for some of it, and the rest will be loan repayments, which we haven't borrowed money in, I think it's 3 years since we borrowed money, and a lot of our old loans have been getting paid out. So they're nearly gone. So our loans are actually lower than they've ever been before. But that's the only way we'll be able to do it. We don't have $5 million spare.
And you've been budgeting for 1.5.
Yes, and we have 1.5 in the budget last year for this building. So we carry that budget forward.
The other thing is that loan he took out for the roadworks will come back from roadworks eventually.
Yes, and see, we'll have profits come from all that roadwork stuff that once it's all evened out and everything's paid for, we should have, with all the grant funded works we've got going on, not just roads, but all the other grant funded works we've had for the last 5 years, there will be money left over from all of that. Because all those ways.
Is there any ability anywhere to get some grant money for the building? I know it's tough. I know. But,
We've certainly been looking for opportunities. Gemma Gillen has been concentrating on seeking grant funding for some of the projects that we've tagged with her, and that's certainly been one, and there's been nothing.
There was there's one that we have the potential to fund a portion of the building from because we'll have Service New South Wales operating.
Small part. Yeah.
So it's a small part, but it might be something.
Yeah, that's true.
Can we put a roadway through it?
Good luck with thinking.
I'm making an overpass.
From outside to the inside. Is that
funding for them?
Yeah. No.
We did look at that, but unfortunately it came through that we weren't allowed to do that. Max did look into that.
So for example, we've had, I don't know, is it 600,000 for footpaths in town? If that money ever came around again, could it go in?
That was a dedicated footpath. I mean, it's a really difficult question to answer, primarily because most grants are tailored to a specific need, and we'd have to just be very fortunate that between now and when we want to start building a building, that a suitable grant would come along.
You have to, Shannon, won't, but I think we'll keep trying. But
absolutely,
the other big problem, or the big kick in the guts, I suppose, was not getting any insurance. It's really made a difference.
Which I think is entirely unfair.
I do too.
That they've just run out of money because they've paid out so many other claims that when the valid one.
I think that the board 5 years ago would have granted it, but the current board wouldn't.
Yeah.
And Max and I went and spoke to them, and we came away thinking, we might be right here, but no, we asked for $3 million.
And it will mean the budget will be a tricky budget again for next year that we pull together, and the year after when the grant funded work slowly cut back. It's not going to be, it wasn't ever going to be easy anyway. I think and that's why the service level reviews that we're working on now are going to be so important to work out what we do moving forward.
Can you see any potential of cutting claims in the future?
There's always.
It'll be a decision for the new council. So we're going through service level reviews, so we will know exactly what all of our services are costing and what the costs are aligned with the service that we deliver. How often we should mow the lawns. We're going to get down to that minute detail. So the new council will have to decide what they want to fund and to what standard, and they'll have all that information as we plough through our service review process. So we'll probably be covered.
So what's the implication that we can only raise the rates 0.7% or something or other?
No, we raised it. This last financial year, it was 2.8.
Yeah.
Next year, they're working on it again because there's been such uproar on how ridiculous 0.7 is of a rate peak. So I don't think it will be tiny next year either. They can't make us put CPI in the indexation on all our costs, but then tell us that rate peak can only be 0.7%.
But don't worry, whatever it is, it'll still be behind the eight ball.
Yes.
Energy prices are going ahead, rates are.
Well, our wage increase for next year has already been set at 3.5, so
it's overconsumed.
it's
Right. So
I would go as far as saying the biggest challenge for the new council will be is managing our community's expectations, because, you know, we've been able to deliver all these wonderful roads and community and village infrastructure on their whim, and that money's going to dry up. So I don't envy the new council or the new GM, or because it's going to be a huge challenge.
yeah.
I do think we're lucky though with our service. With the services we provide now, there are a lot of areas we probably over-service in. So instead of having to cut them, we potentially will reduce them, so people will still have those services. It just won't be to the level they've expected. And it'll be like when we first tried to do our first special rate variation and everyone was against it. But once they understood that we either had the option of that or potentially being amalgamated, people were quite happy to accept a rate increase to be able to keep our council as it is. So it'll be a hard sell, but I think it's possible.
A few years ago, there was a bit of agitation from sectors in the community about our budget, and that we were in negative figures. And so we had a meeting, and we had it at the Living Classroom. We invited those people to attend and a few others to see where we could cut, what services we could cut. And after a day's work, the only thing they wanted to cut was the halls. Money was spending on halls, so it was insignificant. So if you go to the public and say what services you can cut, it's zero. It'll be a tough decision by the council.
We can't add something on into the building that will make a bit of money, like a commercial money making. If it meant adding another room or something, I don't know. Properties, I don't know sort of that. But
I don't know.
Coffee shop. Can I just say that
coffee shop.
No work done.
I'd say that I probably sounded gung-ho when I said let's get on with it, but I've given it a lot of thought over a lot of months.
I understand.
And I know investigation sounds like a good idea, but I think we've sent Colin on a mission, and I think that he's probably fulfilled his mission as best he can.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. I haven't spoken to him, and I must sit down and talk to Colin. And I'm coming in 2 months later, you know, a bit out of the loop. But
I think anyone that didn't attend those two meetings was structurally would be a bit behind.
Yeah.
So if we can gather together and go through that process that the councillors that attended those two meetings have, I'm sure you'll feel much better about it.
Yeah.
They talk about energy efficiency and the ongoing costs of different types of buildings and what it's going to cost to heat and cool and why they're built it the way they have. And it was a real eye-opener to me to go on that journey. So I think I'm sure that if you make the time to next time structurally are available to, or even Colin, Joe, to talk through the process, you'll feel much better about the building that's proposed and why things are the way they are.
Yeah, look, I'm playing devil's advocate a bit, I know, but I think it all needs to be discussed. But Joe, did you have some on it?
Oh, I was just going to say that the loans and how that's probably subject to another report to go through the detail of that and who you're looking at to get the loan from and the costings of that and the spread, you know, need to be able to articulate that really, really well back to the general public that it is a generational spread.
Well, all that needs to be a decision of council, and I don't believe you ever borrow money without some plan of paying it back, and we don't have that, or at least I don't have that in my head. And I'm wondering whether in the future we can dedicate not the road section but part of the fag scheme to that. I don't know. We can do what we like with that money.
It did increase the general purpose component. Is up over $300,000 this year.
Increased by that.
Increased by that much.
And it's a considerable amount of money overall, fags. So maybe we can direct that. I don't know. We need to look.
So if we're talking about a loan of 400,000 and that's increased, if we just say it's something we've never had, we're looking for 100,000 that we've got to fund and just dedicate it straight away to it just sort of makes looking for it that much easier.
I haven't done the sums. What would the repayment be annually?
I just should do
400 plus whatever the interest is.
Plus interest, which will be significant.
Yeah, 440.
440 is
probably $500,000, but if we dedicate 300,000, off the top of that, but we never had it. And if you haven't had it, you don't miss it.
Oh, you mean the fags? Yeah.
Yes.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
Just to bring the meeting back, I guess, and I don't know if it's my
No,
particular
'cause
news
it
though,
is.
but
It is.
the resolutions about
I know.
demolishing the mould
I
infested.
understand that.
Yeah.
Leah, but I think that this discussion needs to be held,
Oh,
and you do that before you pull the old one down.
Just on that then, what's the next move now? As far, like, right out, the next move after do we put it out to tender then? And
I think once the council decides what it wants,
Joe's all over that.
yeah, go on, Jack. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say that that's the part that's really the next part that we
Yeah.
make sure that the timing. So once whatever decision council makes about this in front of you, the next part of that process is to have a firmed up design and costings and then go out for consultation again with the public so that they can see and to take that feedback on board. Like you've said, John, there might be other issues that they see that, they want to discuss or they might be comfortable with it. But I think that part of the process and the timing of that's really, really important, realising we're going into Christmas. Can't leave a void there between now and it's got to happen pretty quickly in, October, November, really.
I share Councillor Egan's frustration with the time it's taken, it's going to take. Local government never moves very quickly, or any government institution for that matter. But I would imagine that once that's pulled down, the next move is to put a slab down. And if we could start on something like that, at least it wouldn't look like something was being done there for the rate.
Then if we do what Alex said, it's not going to look like a big hole.
We cover it up, but it's still a construction site.
Yeah, I realise that.
Someone's put a wreath up there.
Yeah. That was comical.
Some of them that couldn't open their mouth at the meeting.
With the tender for pulling it down or the demolition,
Yeah.
they have the rights to everything.
I don't know.
No, we can structure that tender however we please. Generally, you would offset some of the demolition costs by including salvage rights, but it absolutely doesn't have to go that way. We've got complete freedom to structure that however we please. The request for quotation process that we went through for the demolition of the seed and grain building, which is not finalised. There were salvage rights in that, but there have been some items that we've seen need for elsewhere in the community, and the contractor that we're talking with about doing the demolition has been quite receptive to saying, okay, that's fine, we can take that out. In reality, there's not an awful lot in that building that's to be saved. It's not like it's steel sheds, as is across the road, where if nothing, it's worth nothing. Best case scenario, it can be a shed that's reassembled, but in worst case scenario, scrap steel, and that's worth something.
There's only the trusses in the garage.
That's right.
See.
I was only asking the question because when we had a look at the buildings at Bingler, there's a heap of good trusses and everything there. We've just re-roofed it anyway, haven't we? So a lot of us had new roof on.
Well, when you say new.
New one, well, it still looks new.
Yeah, they are. The roofing line will be okay.
I don't know. I just thought that maybe you might get $100,000 for it all. I'm just surmising that. I don't know. But
So you could structure that a couple of ways. One would be to go to tender for the purchase of those components. So we say to somebody, what are you going to pay us to take these away? The second way would just be to include it as the demolition tender, and
comes off the
demolition price.
And the other thing I was going to say, Ellen, can we have a bit of a scenario from you regarding how we're going to fund this? Like, can we have this?
Yep. So I've just gone through our loan docs. So the $5 million we borrowed in June last year for the cash and timing issues we've got with all our grant funded works, it's a 20-year loan for the $5 million because we also took out the $2 million for the sewerage works that have got to be done. So that $5 million is on a 20-year loan at 2.2% interest at the moment. So that works out to be...
You're working on 10% of it.
No, so that's floating. Yeah.
I'm working on 10. Probably lucky if you get it for that.
Well, so we've already borrowed $5 million.
I understand that. I'm talking over the period of the loan.
Yeah. You reckon we'll get up to 10?
Well, I think you've got to be on the top side of it, Helen. I hope it doesn't, but that's what I'd be doing.
So even can change that. So we've already borrowed the money. At the end of the day, we've already borrowed 5 million. So if we don't pay that back when all the money comes in for all the grant funded works and we carry that $5 million through for the building, then by the time the building starts getting built, if that's in 12 months' time, we've already paid the first year of that loan out.
Yeah.
So we won't have to borrow any more money than our books already stand at having borrowed at 30th of June this year.
That's why if we can get it back to 3.5, 4 million,
Very good.
The way we're going to get it back to 3.5, or well, the way we're going to keep it down is if we don't keep.
You're going to supervise the job.
No, what I'm saying is the longer we keep putting this on hold, the more. We've got to make a decision either yes or no. And yes, I know, John, and I'm saying yes, we have to. That's been my argument all along. Budget it out. I know there's a big building company in Tamworth that builds hospitals that is very competitive. Like we put it out there and get the lowest price. Sure. Naturally, you've got to do that. But the longer we keep going on with this, it's going to blow out. We're not going to have a building.
That's correct, but we have to do it properly.
I'll do some scenarios up to the October.
You need like a business case, and what you're saying is exactly right, Tiffany. But I'd like to see a business case and a business plan about how we're actually going to do it. We don't actually have anything there to say. Because if you're going to hand it on to the next council, you need to know.
Exactly.
They need to know where they're going. So unless we have something, I don't want to hold the process up.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I really do think we need like a business plan to say this is what we're going to do. This is how much it's going to cost us. This is what our repayments are going to be.
Yeah, I totally.
But I don't want to.
What figure do you want me to use though as the base scenario?
Be conservative about 5 million.
Yeah, you have to pick a number.
Conservative, I think you go at the price and then work back.
Go to 6 and come back.
We'll go to 6, right? I go to 6 and come back.
Yeah.
Look, if you're going to come and have another meeting, I don't mind coming down to.
No. We'll do a report up and show you best case, worst case, and it's the biggest issue for even to do any sort of forecasting is based on like we never know how much cash council's going to have because if another project comes up that we've got to commit $500,000 to get another $8 million in road funding.
That's the fine print on you. It says that.
Yeah.
But you got to make a range of assumptions for it.
I'll just base it on what it's going to cost and.
Can I just say,
Max said the other night at that meeting down there that you had a figure out there of about 5 million with an ad hoc figure, maybe 6.
5.5 with contingencies to be added.
Yeah.
That was what he said.
Yeah.
Which he said with 5.5. I think having done a fair bit of building, I think it'll end up at 6.
I think you've got to expect that.
I think you've got to have.
No.
Oh, yeah. We afford it.
I'm with you on what you're saying. I got plumbing place in well. I didn't act on it 30 days. I asked him to replant it. I had him missed out by 3 days.
Now, instead of being 6 grand, it's 7 grand.
Yeah, because the cost of everything is going up. Yeah. This is what,
All right, well, I think we've had a pretty good discussion and I'm pleased with what's being said.
I think we've taken on board, we've done roads and roads and roads, and we've been very generous. This probably, and most of the road work's been in the north. This is probably just as important to the community in Bingra as a road in the north.
If only we could get a grant for it, like we got for the road.
I know.
Like we got for the road.
we're going to keep looking. Leah said a minute ago that there's still everyone's still looking at.
Oh yeah, like it's unlikely we're going to get a grant for this, but yeah, you don't stop.
No. Unfortunately, there's a pretty specific line in most funding that main council buildings don't qualify for any sort of funding.
No, the thing is though, if you can get a grant for something else and then use more of the FAGS money.
Yep.
FAGS money is money we can use.
Yep.
So.
Except the road component.
Well,
it's got to be allocated.
Well, yes, we'll say that. Is there any other discussion on this? We're talking about demolishing a building, actually, if we take you back to the
one comment I would make, even if the demolition did go ahead, I mean, one thing that I think there's one of the biggest things the Shire's got going for it's a bit of tourism. And I think, if the facade was there, you could make a really nice tourist attraction out of it, to encourage people to come to Bingra and to come to the Shire and have a look at it. And I think it's, you can get some partnerships. I think even if you demolish it and put a garden there with a whole heap of statues in it or something or other, it's a bit of a tourist attraction. It's all about getting people into the town.
But the building's going to be there.
Only the front of it.
The facade you're talking about. Where the facade
is. You pull all the rest down, still the rest of it all goes.
Yeah, but I'm saying why spend money? I see that. But
all I'm just saying is if you get to the demolition and the demolition happens, but the building doesn't go ahead, you're still in it.
Oh, okay. If the building doesn't go ahead, I thought you meant gardens and things there. And
but if the building didn't go ahead, you've still got something. What's going to?
Yeah, okay. Well, is everybody expired? Can I put it to the vote now? Is everyone happy to vote on this?
Yeah.
Right. The motion is, and it goes from the page in a bit, as you can see, and a whole lot of more than that. There's a whole lot of points to the demolition, which we all understand, and includes leaving the facade and accessory. But anyway, the motion's there in front of you. Would somebody like to move it? I think it's been moved and seconded.
It's been
Moved and seconded, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, if you're ready to vote, I'll put the motion. Those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against no. No, I believe it's unanimous vote. That needs to be recorded for the absence of Councillor Mulligan from the room. Okay. Well, we'll go over the big one, I think. Next item is the Executive Services Report.
Between us, we should be able to answer any of the questions that you have. If not, we'll take on notice.
Okay.
I have got a
52. What date was?
I got a question on it, Blair.
Yes.
Field Solutions provided the people that put up the Telstra Tower at North Star, aren't they?
Oh, wait a minute.
I believe that's completed.
I don't know. Joe, do you know?
It's working, it's up and functioning, and yet it's got a request for
One right at North Star.
Yeah.
It's been up for quite a while.
Oh, well, it's only been functioning for a few months.
Well, I don't know about whether it's coming on board, but it was being built.
They were building it when we were out there for the community meeting. I'm just wondering whether that needs to be on there. That's a bit hard. Hang on. The demolition of the Total Ag buildings, it's on here. What are we up to there?
Yeah.
That'll be Joe.
What page are you on, John?
53.
In the list of DAs.
It says there's a demolition of the two buildings, one in Bingham Lane, worry about that. What are they ready to go now? Is that all through or not? All approved?
Yes.
It is?
So there's an error with the payment of fees. That shouldn't be there. That was, I guess we changed the process. That really was about internal invoicing and the period of time that takes. So that's been resolved, and any more internal DA applications will get the heads up so that we can make that process faster.
It's us paying ourselves, isn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. So that's not the hold up any
Okay, and all right. The next question then is what's happening with the, pardon my ignorance, but what stage are we up to with this application for a feedlot?
There's some more information that was required, and there was a few questions, I think, from the neighbours that came in.
It's looking, I mean, apart from all of that, the proponent is positive. You think it'll happen?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
On that DA for the feedlot, Joe, have we got standards set for that? Like, have we got a standard set like the Collins got their feedlot out there?
It's mainly the EPA that sets a lot of those border parameters for feedlots. But I guess there is, as we move into drought, there's probably going to be more and more.
There is strict rules around.
Yeah.
It was with the last one.
Yeah.
Very strict rules.
It has to have the same standards apply as the dual supply.
That's right. The ideal.
That'd be no questions there.
Yeah.
The boarding house application.
Yes.
We hit a few, well, we didn't hit a few hurdles. There were a few hurdles put before that application in terms of being on the highway and what's requested to them and the broadening of the highway. We've asked them to go back and they discovered that what they first thought that needed to be in place, and we challenged that, and they said they no longer need to broaden the highway and have those reserves on either side. So that hurdle's gone away, but the other hurdle that they have now is that they don't want the boarding house to be accessed from the highway for some reason.
This is Transport for New South Wales?
Yes, correct.
Saying this?
Yes, whether that's a reasonable request or not is debatable, but they're wanting the proponent to have a look at accessing from the other street.
From Stevens Street?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's right on the corner.
I would have thought that would be quite possible if they'd access the back.
The issue is with the way the design of the maximising the block.
Yeah.
That doesn't really work for them.
Okay.
The actual footprint on that block uses every available space, and that's what kind of makes it a viable project.
Right.
So yes, it is possible to do that, but you would probably lose, a number of rooms, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll just see how that pans out. But whether we need to go in and say that the access from the highways a suitable access rather than losing the.
Regardless of the access, there's going to be parking along there, isn't there? Which is quite legal, but it'll take up a lot of parking that trucks use now.
The parking on the actual site.
I think about visitors parking.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The parking on the actual site itself is very, very tight. We've asked them to go back and see if they could increase the parking on the site.
Yeah.
They've been quite good in working with us.
Good.
Whether the proponents actually build this or not, I'm not sure. Whether they on-sell it as just having been approved. They've got a couple of applications in other shires as well. So it may well be, and I'm yet to get an answer on that, that they sell it on as a,
Selling project. I guess that's their prerogative.
Yeah.
A 10-bedroom one, that everyone has a car and they've got to go in from that street that goes that way, Stevens Street. That's a very big ask on that corner, isn't it?
Yeah.
Go with this boarding house, is it just overnight stay, long-term stay, or?
Long-term, I mean, that's when I've spoken to them, it's about providing, options for tradies and visiting, consultants and sales reps and that kind of proposition as they're looking at. So it's not it's not a big house in the kind of sense of somewhere where people live because they can't live anywhere else. That's not the clientele they're looking for.
Yeah.
I'd say it'd be just the costing of that would be a normal hotel that would exclude people who are on any kind of income benefit or anything like that. Yeah. Don't imagine they'd be able to afford it.
No.
Seems to me that it's a new name for motel.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
That's selling a new name for something else, actually.
Starting with
I heard of JA Grant before. They've been something else. They were around the area.
Inchcape.
Now.
It's Finch Cup, they call it.
Joe, do they have kitchenettes and that sort of thing in each room?
Yeah.
So they're fitting 10. That's a,
Self-contained units.
yeah, they're not very big.
It's a different form of accommodation, I guess, is what we're trying to.
That's not our concern. If
Yeah.
they comply, then well and good. But it's up to them.
And the community's desperate for accommodation.
Yeah.
In any form.
Yes. All right, is there any question on the report?
It's interesting to see the second last item list PWA
Yeah.
in light of what's going forward in Plunkett Street.
Yeah. The Nicholson Oval thing, how when's that going to be?
Yeah, they're going off. I'm out there.
Joe, do you know when Nicholson Oval will be completed?
No, it's follow up.
I can go and have a look myself. I haven't had done anything yet.
going ahead pretty well.
Yeah, I see the photos. Yeah, I reckon it must be closed.
When do they start putting that water system in, Alex? Do you know?
When?
Yeah.
It's underway.
Oh, good.
I'll get some advice on when it will be completed.
On the open.
Yes.
Is there any other question on this report? I see the councillors have been very active as well. Thank everyone that's filled in for me. I know Jeff went to Gundawindi on meeting. And the high school, and so it will be contingent. I can't think of the other things, but thanks anyway for all of that.
Just make sure that a letter went to all of you.
It's gone. I've read it.
I read one. I wrote one personally.
Did you? Max has written one and sent it. I received that a couple of days ago. Right. Is there any other further business on this report? If not, can I have a mover of the recommendation? Councillor Mulligan. Movement Councillor Galvin, seconded. Those in favour say aye. Okay. Next one is the technical services report. Alex.
Very happy to take any questions on the report as a whole. Our major projects are underway and having 4 significant projects happening at once that have all got lifespans of between, say, 3 months and 12 months, when normal times for us is one big job that might last 7 or 8 weeks in a year. Testament to the organisation of our overseas and their staff to be able to be doing Canterbury Road, Gilgil Creek, Gedda Road, IB Bore Road, and the Hollymount construction between Bigger and Warialda at once. Fairly impressive. The footpath works that have been undertaken in Warialda were put on pause because the contractor had some staffing issues, and they're expected to resume early the week after next. Although I did see that contractor working in Inverell yesterday, so I've just been a sweeter job to go to. Beyond that, flood damage is progressing well.
Sorry, Alex, the flood damage, I was going to ask you, how long have we got to complete all that? How long was that again?
So the basic rules are 2 years from the date that the road was first accessible.
Yep.
Because of the magnitude of natural disaster stuff right across the state, that's becoming a fairly flexible time frame. I was part of a Teams call perhaps 12 months ago where the director from Kyogle was part of the call, and he said, well, what do I have to do to get an extension? I said, well, wait until your 2 years is up, and then if you need one, apply for the extension. And he just laughed. He said, I've got $500 million worth of damage. I can tell you now, I'm not going to get that done in 2 years.
No.
And following that, they became a little bit more flexible, and it will still be procedural because it's part of the disaster recovery funding arrangements. But as we approach that 2 years, we'll apply for an extension and we'll get it. But
it's moving along well, though, isn't it?
Well, if you have a look at the list of roads that have been completed, it's pretty long.
Mm.
Yeah, a good whack of progress has been made there. I think we're still sitting around, I don't think we've reached the halfway mark.
Yeah.
Probably still about $12 million worth of work to do, a lot of causeways to be replaced.
Now going into drought, and then looks like we're going into drought and dry weather. Will that affect?
Absolutely has the potential to, yes.
Yeah.
We're already finding now, just for the purpose of general roadworks anywhere, that people are less willing to let us put a water cart into their dam and suck it dry, and that's totally understandable. And you might be aware we received some funding to do a joint drought preparedness study between Inverell and Water Councils perhaps 12 months ago, and I think it was about $700,000. University of New England undertook most of it. There was money left over from that funding, and they said we couldn't spend that on doing one of the projects that the study identified, but we could spend it on a study going into further detail into one of the projects identified. And the one that we chose was to implement a series of bores with large pipes, large tanks and standpipes at remote locations across the Shire. We've got SMK in Moree doing a report on that at the moment, and there is some funding that we might be able to tap into to actually do the works. That would serve two purposes. One, that would address what we're talking about now with the issue of not being able to do roadworks because there's not water. But secondly, if we go back to the horrible drought situation that we had not so long ago, we spent over $700,000 with water carts topping up people's tanks as a community service. And look, it's going to cost more than $700,000 to construct what we're talking about. But if we're able to have standpipes, a standpipe at Upper Horton, a standpipe at Gravesend, a standpipe at Yallaroy, at some more remote locations where somebody can chuck the shuttle on the back of their ute, go and get their 1,000 litres of water, and then go back to their tank. That takes the burden away from council, gives them some independence, which I also think is important. So I think it's a really, really good initiative, and I'd be hoping that in the next financial year we'll be able to progress it. That was a very long-winded answer to your question. I appreciate it.
No, it's good. Thank you.
My question
we
the truck coming in the other day with the blue tank on it. So I was wondering whether
from time to time we're doing them. There's 4 contractors that we're aware of that are servicing and doing potable water deliveries. For us, water carts are in super high demand because we've got so many construction jobs happening concurrently. We have, I think, 3 or 4 hired water carts from Coates, and we still have crews fighting for water carts.
this was a blue potable tank on the back of one.
Yeah, okay. The one we got from No. So we in circumstances where people aren't able to get anyone else, we're saying yes, we'll do it as private works, and we're costing it like we would any other private works.
Alex, my question to you is: did you end up receiving all the grant money that you applied for flood damage? I mean, natural disaster money, and has it come? Has it come in?
Are you talking about the claims and whether
we're successful in all the claims?
Yes. We got a payment through yesterday of, I think, about $1.8 million. Transport for New South Wales are still lagging in the payments. It's an ongoing issue, and I don't know if that's staffing or not. And I think I said at the last council meeting you attended before you went overseas that we might need some pressure on from our state member to address this. I think that we're probably still looking at.
I think after that you did get a payment in.
We did?
Yeah.
And the one that we received yesterday in pound figures was about $1.8 million.
Right. Anyway, that's been approved. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
Alex, what's the next move on the county boundary road there? With all the slabs are finished. We start what?
So we've got our own construction crew there now.
Yeah, right.
They started with some works at the southern end where we'd realigned the road and put in a new causeway to the west, fixed the approaches to that, and now they're at the northern end of the job, and they'll just work their way south until the job's done.
Is that the crew from Upper Horton?
It is. Yeah. And it was really great that we've got blokes from Bingra that wanted to travel all the way up the county boundary
to stay in that team.
Yeah.
That's good. Very harmonious. What about Gattagatha Road? When will it be completed? Sealed.
That's a difficult one to answer.
That's why I asked it.
Hit me on my toes. We've had issues with rock crushers breaking down. As you can imagine, those rock crushers do pretty hard work, and they require maintenance from time to time. We are running 2, and one's usually in the workshop, having some consumables replaced, the other one's being used on site. At the moment, just as a bit of bad luck, both of those are out of action. pretty hopeful that there'll be a seal on all 20.9 kilometres by Christmas.
Oh, good.
I had a bet with one of the landholders there that we'd be
I bet it was me.
finished by the end of October, and it looks like I'm going to have to buy the car.
I'm sure you'll share it with you.
Another quick question, I probably should say it in council reports, but anyway, living classroom. Two things. Where are we up to with the power for the cabins coming in? Because I see that's looked out on so much up there, and especially with Christmas and all that coming in, and also the building of the whatever they call it, the convention centre or whatever it's. What's happening there? That was back in the last council, like before the last elections, we got a grant to do that, and that was supposed to be done in a certain amount of time. What's happening?
I'm not able to give an answer to that. That's Max and Carmen's area, and Carmen's in Kenya. Max is on leave, but happy to chase it up. And
the interpretive centre, you're talking
yes.
Yeah, because I mean that was grant money that was supposed to be spent in a certain amount of time.
Max got under control. I think. It just
We might scrap that to give you the money for the.
£600 up there. We had some bloody ceiling
Yeah.
business that cost it. I don't know. I know I are getting it, but I don't know what happened.
Then the slab, there was something wrong with the slab and everything like that. So there's a slab sitting up there. It's used.
I think
just about everything.
we gladly put that money into a new building if we could. Good. You could use the slab for paying something on.
Before the building had power and all on it.
Yeah, I don't know, but I'll chase that. And
Pop it in councillor report so it's in the minutes. And
Yes.
But you've got to remember all the other things that are.
No, I'm just sort of chasing that up. And
It took them long enough to do the caravan park.
well, it's only just getting the plumbing. I think the boys were busy there
Everyone's
doing
talking
plumbing.
about the power on the.
Oh yeah, the power on the house.
I don't know
That's
why.
outside,
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, we know. Yeah, that's
so was up there.
trying to make a sense for energy go.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's all
They're
out.
the same as the ones in Moriel, it's named. They're not-
Yeah, the same thing.
They're all on the
But it's outside our control to a degree.
I saw a thing as well saying there was that the pool will open this weekend, but they're waiting on a part to come.
Yeah.
Express post. Have you heard anything about that?
Should be there tomorrow.
no, I'm sorry, I don't know when the pool.
Was that on Facebook?
Yeah, Glenn wrote that he was waiting for a part to come because someone was saying about the pool opening this weekend, and Glenn said he was waiting for a part to come in express.
That's the Bingra.
Finger pool, yeah.
What's happening
That should have been done.
The contractors are there working.
They're doing it now. I think they'll be pretty game to get in the pool next weekend. It'll be pretty chilly, I think.
But it should have been done. When they knew.
I'm very interested. Is there any other questions or comments on?
One to Alex, so.
Yes, Councillor.
Alex, did you have a little footpath down here on the creek with those cracks and when the trucks are run over and broke it all?
yes, superficial in some instances, structural in others. Where it's structural, we'll replace it and put back in. It's going to be a little bit of argy-bargy with the contractor as to whether that's a council issue or a contractor issue.
Okay. Anything else? I got Graham having a look at the business up the top. Gregor's there?
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know where he's up to, but yeah, look.
So that'll be the same, Jamie.
Yeah, Jamie.
So that'll be the same contractors that are working in Inverell because they have staffing issues and
We'll put it back up there.
I think everyone has staffing issues.
There's a report, Mr. Mayor.
We haven't discussed this. Well, report on selected contractors to.
Something, some update or something.
item, Mr. Mayor.
Orange Road's the same.
But it's part of the, I might have gone over the page.
Yeah.
Okay, the report's been received and noted. You've moved that, Councillor Golden, have you? Second, please. Councillor Moore. For the motion, those in favour say aye. Okay. After all that long-winded discussion, I think we've had a cup of tea. We'll break
Beauty.
Okay, back to work. Item 6.8, page 77, Orange Road construction tender. Alex, you need to take us through.
Yeah, certainly. So this one's pretty well an FYI for the councillors. The tender that I mentioned, the plant hire tender, the intention of that when we went through it was to have a panel contract that allowed us to use any earth move that was part of that contract and still meet our obligations under local government act and regulations with regards to procurement. So the $250,000 threshold, which is now $500,000 for disaster recovery stuff, is not a concern. So pretty well all this report is saying that we would seek a resolution to use people on that tender, whoever we see fit, to construct Worms Road. Just pretty well a courtesy to the councillors, as it's likely to be somewhere around $600,000 or $700,000.
That's a formality, not that.
It is, yeah.
Anyone have any questions on that? If not, can I have a vote of the recommendation? Councillor Egan, second with Councillor Smith. Put that motion over, vote say aye. Thanks, Alex.
Easy.
Alex, just going back a page on that roller in the photo, is that one you're putting behind the grader?
That is one of the three we're pulling behind a grader.
Yeah, they're not a fixed one. I've seen them before, but they're on the ripper farm.
Yeah, no, these are trailers.
Yeah.
And you see there's a set of rams on the back. Let it ride on the steel drum or the rub tyres that sit beside it, go behind it.
I have to go and look. We're up to your report later, is it?
Yes. My report put together by the wonderful Sarah. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
All right, questions of Blair.
Most exciting department of them all, of course.
Pardon?
The most exciting department of them all.
Oh, of course.
Love the photos yesterday of them at Nauru.
Yeah, exactly.
And what about
Oh, yeah.
the what?
Yeah.
I still have one.
yeah.
I'll stick the horse.
I still have one question. The emergency accommodation down here,
Yes.
is that only going to be available? I know it's for domestic violence and stuff like that, but is that us?
No, it's not for domestic violence. So the funding for the two of the buildings was for emergency funding. So if there's natural disasters, fires, floods, etc., where people are displaced. So that's what those buildings are for. The two buildings at the back that front the age units are going to be for medical services, visiting people.
That include pharmacists and all that kind of thing. Yeah, I know.
Yep. The big building will be leased by Challenge and deliver the day program there on the knowledge that if there's a natural disaster, they have to evacuate and discontinue their services. The other building is going to be rented out similar to a cabinet at the caravan park where providers of disability services can rent that for people in need, people respite.
Yeah, the other two buildings, are they, if they're not being used for medical services or that, will they be leased out?
No.
No. Day vacant.
Yes, because you can't really predict when you've got
Okay.
visiting medical practitioners.
Yeah, right.
So they're going to be earmarked for that.
Yeah,
They're going to have small yards, be low maintenance. They're really they're not homely. They're like a very impressive cabin for people just to fly in and fly out pretty much.
And you never know when you're going to get a locum. Like they can say they're coming one week and not come the next. And yeah.
The age units residents were very distressed that we were the rumour around town was that we were bringing in people impacted by domestic violence and Sudanese families, and that's certainly not the case.
Yeah, right.
The two buildings are for visiting medical practitioners.
Are we any further advanced with the building set up?
Yes, we had a builder on site and a concreter. The foundations will be done as soon as the outside claddings. A lot of it's volunteer time, looking at donations for items. So it's very exciting. Hopefully done by Christmas.
Meeting coming up, or they had a public meeting?
Had one.
Just had it last night.
Yeah.
That'll be a good asset. When will the Challenge building be occupied, I think?
Still issues with plumbing and rail. So it was October. It's probably more likely to be November now.
Will be this year.
Yeah. We need to do road building and landscaping as well. So there's no road to there yet.
No.
Still on track for Maxi restaurant.
I haven't heard any more from the potential lessee, and Carmen's been away for a couple of weeks, but she'll be back next week. You can certainly send her out an email as to what's happening with the Roxy.
Because they said July, they said August, and then it was going to be September.
That's a colour.
I don't think
It's family somewhere in that.
Oh, no, it was nephew, wasn't it?
Yes,
I think there's a visa issue, some sort of hold up with the visa, but Carmen will know exactly.
So he's also finishing his apprenticeship.
Okay.
well, that's something wasn't it?
Yeah, he's doing a chef's thing and he hasn't finished it. All right. Recommendation is that the report be received. Is there any further discussion on Mayor's report?
Oh, well, before we move on, I just want to say that we have had compliments about the camping park
Yeah,
in Bingra.
the management, yeah.
Yeah. It was a little bit disappointing about and I don't know whether anyone around the table ever saw it advertised as a position or an opportunity. I didn't, and it's taken a long time to get to the point where we're talking to someone and they have some information. But since then, there's been another
The
lady.
package that's gone out to the second lady, like they don't know whether it's leasing, whether it's wages, or whether
It
it's.
hasn't been well done. It was very.
There
well
is some
done.
interest on that.
There's two that we know of that are very interested. One is a family from Warialda that live at the Gold Coast, and he's actually a lifeguard at a Gold Coast with a young family at a Gold Coast pool. And then the other one is someone that are in Victoria at the moment, and they're young too, so
Yeah.
they both have young.
Well, we'll get somebody, don't we?
Yeah.
also.
Sorry.
Like the because we two kids.
Yeah.
I've just added that into council reports as well. Report.
Okay. The office recommendation on the latest report is report be received. Something like to move. Councillor Galvin, Councillor Egan, I'll put the motion. Those in favour say aye. Carry. 610 investment rates collection report. Helen.
That's just your standard monthly report. Any questions, if anyone has any? You're pleased to know.
I'm just joking, sorry.
After last month's drop in rates collections, it is actually above higher than it has been for August in the last 3 years.
I have a question, please. Can you tell me where we're going with the rates collection, the data?
The sale of the
Unpaid rate.
unpaid rates.
It is progressing. It's all with them now, so they're doing.
We haven't had people come in and pay their rates and say, oh, sorry, it was unavoidable.
There are a few that were on that list that have been notified that have been in contact with the recovery people. I'm not sure what the status of that is. We try not to get involved until it's decided on and we know what the arrangements are that they've come up with.
They're no advertising of sales then?
Not yet, no. They're still in the process of contacting everyone again.
Yeah.
Now that because those extra properties got added to the list, they've had to go through and contact all of them. So I can get a report next month to get them to give an update on exactly where they're up to. I imagine they were planning on having the sale November, but I think it will be in the new year now.
Okay.
I just wondered whether everyone had an opportunity to address it.
So they were getting, all those people were getting contacted again.
Okay, thank you.
That's what I was going to ask, and I forgot to do it. Alex's report about putting standpipes in tanks, future, could that come out of the waterfront? Would. Yeah. There is a standpipe that grows into your reels.
I'm aware of that. One up here gets used a fair bit, like on the Argent Run.
There's one in the shoes. The hill.
Pretty good community service. All right. Is there any question to Helen? Nice.
Just one question. Helen, see the employee leave entitlement, does that usually run about that same, or is that high, or is that?
That's what we like to have it at.
Yeah,
It's about that 950. That's a safe figure, but it's not a legally required restriction, so we can buffer that. It is nice to know, though, with our statements for last financial year, I've been able to increase that from 400 to 900 for our official statements. So
Yeah, the ageing workforce, you need that.
Yeah, that's right.
yeah.
Helen, I used to ask this every meeting when I first come on the council, but generally, how are we going?
We're going, we are going well. Like
Yeah.
our projects are coming in on budget, and with the grant funding, with wages being paid, I think it's just we planned on having extra cash a few years ago when the first lot of grant funding came in, but since then we've got more and more grant funding, and the roads ones, because they're such huge projects, it's huge amounts of cash with timing. So the day we get to the end of the grant funding and everything's acquitted and we can finally have everything signed off, I think it will be a really nice day.
Haven't seen the bottom line like that for a long time, have we?
No, because it was probably 5 years ago we decided we wanted to the contribution of 300,000 a year to our cash position, aiming to get 1.2. But since then, there's a whole lot happened.
Yes.
I still think that you've got to look at the overall picture. The towns are shiny. We've got a very good plant.
Yep. I will say with all the extra work that we've capitalised this financial year, our depreciation has gone up by $4 million.
Yeah, that's next council. Sorry, that is.
From 2022 to 2023.
That's going to get worse or better, however you look at it, when these roads come on.
Yeah. Well, Horton Road's being capitalised, and something else. Oh, and the bypass it was the year before, but it's $1 million with indexation, because we have to put the auditors have requested indexation be applied as well, which was a huge hit.
The caveat on that is that we've got a roads revaluation next year, which is a full look at the entire network and replacement costs and useful lives, and
which will come down.
Yes, it will.
Yeah.
So there's a potential that we might be able to reverse the indexation we were just talking about.
That's always been my argument. This depreciation kills us. But when you get a road up to, say, the Oregon road standard, what's the depreciation? The depreciation on that's more because it's worth more. It's crazy, isn't it?
So, but the flip side of that specific road is that we've got pavement that would have been depreciated over 9 years. When we do the revaluation, we'll put it at 20.
Yeah.
In other words, forget about the depreciation.
We have to, yeah. It's taken me a long time to come to this, but if you let depreciation run the show, you won't do anything.
So in the draft statements, 2022 depreciation was 8.3 mil. It's up to 9.6 this year.
Yeah.
But it's funny, our wages have actually stayed the same because so many of our wages were on capital works that get excluded.
Yeah.
I guess that shows how efficient we've been with the amount of capital works we're chewing through.
The other problem in the future is going to be when the grant funding is exhausted, then there's going to be people, the casuals are going to go leave us, and that's not going to be good for the show.
We won't be able to maintain a $13 million wages budget.
And the problem is, and the thing is too, there is some older staff that will be stepping out too. So
we do. I don't know what the figures are on our ageing
wage. Well, their skills actually.
Yeah, in saying that, it's been a very useful way to provide for succession planning.
Oh yeah.
We've got people on staff. We're training them up, knowing we're going to have quite a large percentage exit in the next 5 years. So it's been beneficial for council
to
have the funds to be able to train people up the succession plan, because otherwise you'd be bringing people in blind and there'd be that catch-up time and lack of productivity.
Helen, you're able to the depreciation cost of the red fleet.
If
I noted the other day that there was a private member's bill
Yeah.
to the state parliament by a local member.
How'd that go?
I don't know.
No, it's only had the second reading. It's not.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, it's obviously something that's probably going to be supported around the country areas, and I don't know about the city, but
Our country mayor's been pushing this for
yeah,
a long time.
at least getting an hearing, but whether it's going to get us a win or not, I don't know.
And it's coming from a opposition member in Parliament. We wouldn't know how to go, but certainly needs addressing. He's brought it to the fore.
But
We've been knocked back every time we've done something.
the city RFS, they'd be the same sort of situation for their council.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, anyone that's got a red fleet is.
One of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard.
Yeah.
The way that
It
is
is.
handled.
It doesn't make sense at all. Any other questions, Helen? No, can I have somebody?
Yeah, you're right.
Have you got a bit?
Yep, I'll have it in.
I reckon it's about 400,000.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're close, 336,000.
Yeah.
That's the last financial year.
And then we had the sheds on top of that, stations.
Yeah, and it's jumped from prior year from 275 to 335. Like it's
Their vehicles.
yeah.
And then you had the contribution that we have to, our voluntary compulsory.
Which went up as well.
Yeah. Looking at our insurance the other day, we give $1,000 or $1,100 a year to it.
So the statements will be presented. It's going to be a tricky one next month. The auditors will be here in 2 weeks' time to do the statements, and then they've got to be presented to ARIC and then council.
Yeah.
So it'll be a tight time frame because that council meeting's not till the 27th of October.
Okay.
We'll get them adopted there.
They'll have that done for Eric, will they?
Yes.
Yeah. Good.
Well, you'll get, if it's not completely done, will be the draft statements.
And they're coming, or? You know,
I can
Also?
try and organise for them, or we normally do it in the December one after they've been
oh, that's fine. Yeah.
finished.
Yeah. All right, I'm looking for a mayor that we adopt the recommendation, that we adopt the report we received. Councillor Mulligan, seconded Councillor Smith. Any questions? Information that in favor say aye. Items no. Gareth. 611 is the financial assistance grant allocation. Alex.
Okay. The very good news, and I spoke at a meeting previously and stated that our roads component of the FA grants had gone up by $400,000. With the addition of some indexation, that was more like $800,000, which was a pretty serious win.
Thanks for that. Without going hard on an individual, is this the fault of a previous engineer? Thank you.
The guts of this report and the recommendation is that if we don't allocate this funding to roads, it is untied. The Grants Commissioner has said you spend it on whatever you like. When we do our return for Roads to Recovery for the federal government program for road construction and reconstruction, the roads component of the FAGS grant is included as income, whether it's spent on roads or spent elsewhere. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one, Helen.
No, correct.
So essentially, if we don't allocate the increased funding to roads, we either risk losing Roads to Recovery, which is $1.182 billion a year, or we make up the difference with general fund money, which are pretty undesirable also. I have made some recommendations as to what to do with that additional income. I was a big fan of the saying, keep doing what you've always done, you keep getting what you've always got. And there's a really gold opportunity to change the way we're doing a few things and see a fairly decent improvement. But the key part of that is there are two sustainability indicators, two of the big ones, infrastructure renewal ratio and infrastructure backlog ratio, that in the Fit for the Future process we did not score very well with at all. add an extra $800,000 recurrent expenditure per year to that, we're starting to look a whole lot more sustainable on paper. Now, we just talked about depreciation going up by $1.3 million. We claw back $500,000 of that in a roads revaluation next year. Then we're sitting in about the same place that we were last year with depreciation. I'd like to ignore it as well, but it's not something that we can do. Another thing that allocating this funding to roads will do, we talked only 2 minutes ago about losing staff when grant funding dries up. This will give us the opportunity to retain some of those staff, and a lot of them are staff. I think in total we've got somewhere around a dozen temporary staff in the engineering department. It would be great to retain a decent portion of them. There were some questions prior to the meeting regarding locking in this expenditure for a 5-year period, and some concerns about committing a future council to an action they might not be happy with. 2 comments in response to that. One is that Roads to Recovery is a 5-year program. So that was the basis of the recommendation for 5 years. Secondly, a future council can reverse the resolution if they're not happy with it. But I think that it would provide good guidance to a new council. That we've got people in the room that understand the importance of roads recovery and the own source expenditure and all the implications. And I think with a new council, we're probably going to lack that knowledge. Happy to take any questions.
I think respect to the bags money or the roads section of bag money being spent on roads, it's extremely important that we do that in a rural council. And I didn't understand that the bags portion of the grant played a role in R2R funding. I never ever knew that, because I know you can't use it as your own self or home source funding. So that baffles me that I didn't know that. And I was the one that made the point, Alex, about if we adopt this motion for a 5-year recommendation for 5-year spending, that if I was a new council coming in, I'd object to the old council dictating terms, after they've gone. But when you put the factor in that it's going to affect our R2R money, I think we need to do this. And like Alex said, the new council can review it if they want to.
It can be reviewed, and you can go in understanding the implications.
Yes.
Put there and make it so.
I think that when it's questioned by the new council, Alex will be able to explain why we did that, and then they can decide. It'll be up to them. So if there's anyone got any questions or anything about that, any more information required? I think that that'll be much appreciated by the ratepayers if we can progress the sealing of those 2 roads, albeit slowly, but every kilometre is a difference. If that's the case, if you're happy, no, Councillor Moore.
Just a question, Alex, just explain to me what this Caterpillar post track, how does it work compared to Jet Patches? Is it just go along like we had Midweed used to go along and dig out bad areas and refill them? Is that going into this similar thing?
In a roundabout fashion, yes. So we've got a profiling attachment for the front of it. It's just a big Caterpillar brand Bobcat. We've got a profiling attachment which, in layman's terms, is fairly solid rotary hoe.
That's what you showed me the day we drove around.
I did indeed.
That's right.
And look, the guts of it is we lay some cement out in front of a bad patch, and the machine mills that, firms it up, and we've got a lasting repair, as opposed to our bitumen truck just putting some stone and emulsion into a hole without addressing the failure underneath it. Jet patches serve a purpose, but they are absolute band-aid fixes.
Yeah. I think in adding to that, though, it's been jet patches that's made us look good compared to other shires. They get out very quickly after
that's true
a rain event or a big event and do fix potholes. I think you will assess this as you go. I think you'd have to look very closely at getting rid of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Any other questions? Then I'm looking for a mover of the recommendation, which is lengthy, that it's printed. Councillor Mulligan's moved that way. Second, Councillor Moore. There's no more questions. I'll put that motion. Those in favour say aye. Aye. So, yeah. The next item is the late item is the declaration of interest under the Code of Conduct. Would you like to explain this to us a bit, please?
Can probably find it better than that.
Helen, Ken?
We're up to, sorry.
It's 6.12, declaration of interest under the Code of Conduct Act. Late report. In other words, it's all that anybody that's made a declaration throughout the year is going to be published and made public. Is that what it is? Or not that it's a secret now, but
No, that's the separate. So I've got all your related parties disclosures that you've got to fill out today. Pretty much tick them off and sign them to say you haven't had any transactions unless you have. That one is a separate one. That's a local government one that gets done by, I think it's every 6 months.
Yeah.
it's a new thing though, isn't it?
No, it's always been in
I
place.
think
Is it? I've never struck it before.
okay.
I think it used to be the old big blue form. Remember the blue?
So it's just the tabling of any declarations of interest.
Yes.
And what's the purpose of this? I mean, they're public anyway, aren't they?
Yes.
If you declare an
It's
interest in a meeting, it's publicly declared.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's just the same thing
It's a summary of the
Yes.
declarations. For
to make sure that it's all accurate and
And
nothing's
things have
changed.
changed.
Because it's all moving to online so that it's all just,
If it's been happening forever, why has it now come up as an item on our agenda?
I'm not sure. I'd have to find, I don't know who did that report.
It just was a bit baffling to me, that's all.
And just that, John.
Oh, it's a late report, the first of the late.
With the late report.
That's on your last page.
Declaration.
Oh, no.
It's here.
On the
Calculator, whatever you call
Sorry, on your iPad.
iPad.
it, computer.
Yeah. You want to see that? I'll have to find it.
It's
I've got it
down here.
Is it on the tender one or is it?
No, it's just a separate thing and it just came through. Put search max.
Councillor Carlton's invited me to a November council.
Yeah, I don't,
Is that it?
I don't know what, that went out to a whole heap,
It's
but I
on
don't know what the
Thursday.
hell that was all about. All I did was put the council meeting in,
Yeah, that one there.
because it was still on the 23rd on my calendar.
I appreciate being invited, thanks.
It's all right, I'm pleased that I invited you.
I don't know why I invite everyone.
Have you
It
got
just
it there?
happens like that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I suppose,
Doesn't say much.
because I declined the 23rd and just physically put it on the 30th myself,
21st.
because it hadn't gone on to the 30th.
Yeah, I messaged Sharice and said it's not the 23rd, it's the 30th.
Anyway,
After reading the
I'm pleased that I've
council.
invited you all.
So all that is saying is that you're acknowledging the fact that once you do those declarations, they will be made publicly available. That's
So if
pretty much-
somebody wanted to come in and search them, they could get.
Well, it's on the website. It's got to be on our through GIPA. It's got to be available.
That's how it's relatively new that it goes on the website. It's now, councils are now compelled to have it on the website.
If it was a GIPA thing, they'd just do it and go. But it must be a new thing.
It's obviously required.
The new requirement by the state government. Yeah.
As long as your name's on that list to say that you've done it, you're all good.
Yeah, okay.
And just that you're aware that it is going to be on public display. It's available. Yes.
No, we're going to handle this one. Somebody like to move that we adopt that recommendation on the tabling of declaration. Councillor Egan and Councillor Dixon. Put the motion, those in favour say aye. Okay. Next item is another late item, 6.13, tender and supply of vinyl material for stabilisation work.
It should be confidential.
Oh, that's in confidential?
Yeah.
Okay, do that, of course it is. All right, so we go,
Don't say ordinary.
go to councillor reports. That'll be the next item. Yeah. We're not in confidence yet. We're going to do council reports, and if you do have something that you'd like to do in confidence, we can. But I'll go around the room, Councillor Colton. And then Councillor Smith.
No, I got Lolly after.
Oh, go to Councillor Moore. I think he got one too.
Mr. Mayor, to Alec, the rec, I was going to put a dig into the kitchen, but I'll wait while I'm here. Now the rec ground, the bench in the kitchen, jumped on it and bed it down in the new rec building there. Okay. And needs a fair bit of clean up around the backs of weeds, and that needs spraying, and some of the screens have been taken off the window, like someone's been trying to break in there sometime. I'll have that looked at today. And the other one was just to thank you, really, going out for the heart walk they had on the weekend. We're having a couple of places right out there. And that was really good.
Excellent.
They raised about $6,000 actually. Wow. On that. And that they haven't decided what to do. It's not actually going to Heart Foundation, it's going to something in our community. But they're going to talk to the doctors, see what they actually want, or the hospital, see what they want, where that money's going. A little bit of patching needs to be done. I only noticed it from the 3 mile into town. There's some big potholes starting to occur there.
I did do a few though.
And that's about it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah. The only couple of ones there, as you mentioned earlier, I went to that cross-border crime meeting there a few weeks ago. Yeah, it was good. It was quite interesting. They had a fair few people there, apart from Mark Colton and then the mayors from Gundawindi and Moree. They probably had 6 or 7 cops and detectives there that were
Cross-border or New South Wales?
both.
Yeah.
Oh, no, yeah, the detectives were from Queensland. I think one was from Warwick and one somewhere else. But and then a fair few other people, just government workers, and what mainly with just how they can sort of help probably more Aboriginal people sort of join. But the big thing, or the couple of things that came out of it, was that the crime had dramatically dropped in the last couple of months. And they put it down to mainly the fact that they apprehended 5 or 6 young blokes that had done a lot of the crime that was sort of mentioned. And the other thing was that through the winter you don't get as much crime because young blokes don't go out in the bloody frosty morning. So that was, but obviously once they come out, it's something we've just got to keep on to. They're hoping for more education from, particularly the Aboriginal communities, and they're hoping to get another person that'll help at Toomala in Boggabilla with education and whatnot, and that was still a bit up in the air. There's a lot of things they're really pushing, but a lot of it, not much of it sort of come good yet. We're hoping to get a border bubble on the bottom side where the Queensland cops can still chase and apprehend someone up to a certain, but that hasn't, they've put it forward, but nothing's come out of it yet. Then after that, we had a meeting with Ben Carlton and a few others out there. Wanted to have Ben wasn't at the meeting, but he came in afterwards. And I stayed, and Lawrence Springborg and Mark Johnson and a few of them, Mark stayed and had a meeting with them, but it was only Ben and this bloke, Carl McGrady, who's a doctor from Gunda from Boggabilla. But probably still nothing much has come out of it, but they want to keep on with trying to, particularly Boggabilla. Boggabilla's a bloody mess at the moment. Yeah. Houses burnt down and no one there, and they're pushing for trying. And this Carl McGrady, a real decent bloke, he's really frustrated about the lack of education and whatnot. So sort of, and we said as a council with both meetings that Gwydir Shire would certainly be behind anything that they do, and we hope we can sort of help there. But that was basically it. There's another meeting on, I think it's did write it down.
I think it's the 9th of November, I think.
Yeah, November.
Yeah.
And we hope we can sort of keep on with that, and hopefully we can keep on with Ben's group over there and try and make a bit of a difference over that way. That was that one. The other one was I went to the high school the other day to the year 12 leavers. It was a good day, and a lot of pretty funny things coming out of the stories and that they've had, and a couple of the teachers. But that was really good actually. So apart from that, I don't think.
Is that the induction of the new captains? And
yeah. I know Alyssa's young Jasmine Briggs was one of the new ones, and I didn't know the other boys that were there, but no, they're all pretty good, and no, it's credit to the school actually. I thought. Yep, no, that'll do, mate.
Thanks, Jeff.
Congratulate those students.
Good.
Because we're trying to involve them in the council.
That's right.
It's just an acknowledgement.
Yeah.
No, well, that doesn't need a motion. We can. All right, thanks. Now, Lyndon, or Councillor Mulligan, have you?
Just the state of the Copper Creek tip. Somebody passed a comment to me. It needs a little bit of attention, so it does. It's just, I'm not sure whether it's just regular maintenance that happens at it or whether it's just ad hoc maintenance. I really don't know. But
It's a transit one, isn't it?
No.
It's not?
No.
yeah, somebody passed a comment. It's full, so I don't know. I didn't go over that answer, but yeah.
I'll look at that.
It just needs, somebody said it just needs a bit of attention.
It goes there, but I'll just make the comment that we're currently looking at plant options to enable us to more regularly visit landfills, especially the remote ones, and be doing pushing up on a more regular basis.
Yeah, thanks.
So we're looking at more regular scheduling of that maintenance. Was it people not putting it in the right spot?
I think what happens is, well, I think what happens is, it comes out from North Star as well. I've got a couple of times a week or something, right? I think that sort of bogs it all up a bit, and then, it's like people don't want to get too close to the edge, so then they throw it a bit further back, and then I don't want to get there, and it goes a bit further back again, and sort of ends up before you know it's 50 metres away. Yeah. That's the problem.
Yeah, okay, we're on to that.
That's all, thanks.
Thank you. Yes, Dixon. Nothing? Yes.
Sorry, John. Welcome back. I've got quite a bit.
That's all right. I wouldn't have got anything.
Slowly.
Don't mind if I nod off.
It's been brought to, I wondered if we could look into with maybe the funding that's at the living classroom is getting a cool room fitted into up there, because it is getting used more and more regularly, and people are using big eskies with ice and everything, and there's water going everywhere, and it seems to be booked out quite regularly. So with the fees, is there some way we can somehow use something for a cool room? That's been brought up quite a few times.
How big of a cool room are you looking at?
A decent sized one. Well, I reckon in that room.
Because you said you want it to fit in
The storage part.
Yeah.
Behind the kitchen.
So the other idea someone else floated was where the council purchased like your portable cool room. Like we have a cool room that's on a trailer that we keep, and we can hire it out as well, and for the Christmas carnivals and all that sort of stuff, you'd be able to utilise it for that as well.
Just that with that sort of thing, like the people we catered for a thing there last weekend before, and they hired a cool room for the alcohol, and then you're climbing in and out of that, you know what I mean? Whereas if they are there and you're catering, like there's a wedding there this weekend. I think there was a wedding there last weekend. There was something there last weekend there too.
We can look at getting quotes, can't we?
Yeah.
If council deems it a necessity, well, the quarterly review, probably won't go in this quarterly review, but we could do it for the December quarterly review.
Just something to look into. I know it's hired out for Christmas. A family's hired it for Christmas.
There's a wedding in November.
There's a wedding in November there.
Especially if it's being utilised as much as it is, there's potentially a lot more income come through for it than we budgeted for. So I mean, council can make that call to say that, you know, you want those extra funds to go towards that.
It is getting used a lot.
How much is a cool room worth to build to?
I don't know. I think you can.
Size bonus and
Yeah, I mean, you don't need a great big massive one, but
Just
Under 10,000.
under 10.
Yeah, like
That's our 6 to 8.
6, yeah, well, if we've got it, yeah.
you know, Deanna that's living in the Whitfield place. You all know Deanna that's living in the Whitfield place that's doing all the carpets and keeping everything. She asked me, could she please, somebody has been in there and broken a tree off. And she wondered, could she have a medium tree to plant where the tree is there? Normally she just goes and buys them all herself. But yeah.
We still have trees up at the living classroom.
From my understanding, it's on the fence of the preschool and Whitfield place, like a medium tree to go where the orange tree's been snapped in half, please. Not a citrus tree, a nice medium tree. The grandstand at the showground, we're having terrible. It's been an ongoing thing with the birds. There's been a lot of money spent down there, and
What do you do about it?
you can put these when we're away. The train stations, you now see the spikes sticking up.
Oh, yeah.
I had referred that through to the environmental people,
Yeah.
and I thought there might be a vermin control rule where maybe we can do that. So
It's more of a matter for the trust than the council.
Yeah.
The council of trustees.
we don't, yeah. So
Who said to shoot them?
Like that.
But it's bad because like the races, it was when we had the races, the Shire, the committee cleaned it up. The Shire cleaned it up on the Thursday. They had a Lexi on the Friday. We had to clean it again on Saturday before the races.
Yeah, you need to try and solve that problem. I'd say you go to the trust,
That's what
and if they need money, they'll come back to the council.
I've taken it to Andrew and Saul to see if there's any vermin.
Yeah, but nothing's happening.
So it's in there. There.
we won't have
In
to
the
do
minutes,
this.
too.
10 minutes now is your report, so.
Yeah. Now, just touching on the daycare situation, I see lots in the news at the moment, like that. Mellery was in the news where it's like a 2-year wait and everything. Do you think there will be grants coming up?
If it's anything like the aged care situation we've had, you would think there would have to be more funding coming, but
Yeah,
The funding will go to Western Sydney.
Absolutely. How many millions? 14.
What happened in the budget?
14 billion, and we got 1.8 down.
yeah. I just thought I'd bring that up because I see it on the news, especially in Moree, like a 2-year wait and all that. And I know both ends of the council are talking about that. And I keep explaining that we have done lots to help. We're putting people through the courses and offering to help with setting it up. But, yeah. The river, where are we up to with the
Three.
tree, the pond,
Alex is going to get me
that area?
I've got a job for everyone after this.
Um,
Well, actually, the mayor's bulldozer is
We're going down there.
lined up, ready to go.
Go out with
He's working for fuel only, nothing everything else.
Being recorded, right?
Yeah.
yeah, they got a grant to do that.
Yeah.
There, didn't they?
To get the tree out.
No, to
To
do
fix
the,
it up.
No, We've got money for that, but not for the tree.
no.
And actually, they're right. It's only a personal opinion. Where they're remediating under the golf course, I think it's pretty much a wasted time, and it would be better spent in the public areas.
I agree with you, Catherine.
That's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So what's got to happen with the tree? Is it
Oh, that,
The bloody flood come and washed it a bit further.
further down?
Yeah, down Graham's End.
Yeah, the road and bridges
oh,
up.
bridge down on its way through.
I'll paint off it. Are you done, Councillor? No, I didn't think you were. Keep going.
Alex, we spoke about before, someone brought it up. Are they did you speak to Adam Marshall or something about the official opening of the Horton Road so that the advertising gets out there?
Been overseas and is, I think he's only back on deck last week or the week before.
Yep.
I did speak with him on another more pressing matter than that one. And I apologise. An opening. We know that Adam won't let that go by without
Yep.
Well, there's Parliament's not sitting here to be available.
Yeah, 'cause he couldn't get home.
Yeah, he was stuck. So
And
the
it's just footpath the road.
There was the footpath, the road, and the toilet block.
Yeah, a lot of it.
The Jaguar.
And just one more. I had a phone call from someone from Morialda Chamber asking why we had Justin Herald, who's this has all happened while you've been away. Justin Herald was coming to us in September, and he's a motivational speaker.
I heard him speak. He got ill and couldn't come. Yeah.
And he's coming back. So on the Shire Facebook page, the poster was put up that he's coming back, and I had someone from the Warialda Chamber ring and say, how come Bingra had him twice, meaning at the school and at...
Been to Warialda.
Yeah, and I did explain he's been to Warialda, and they said, but they funded that. And I explained to them, I just want to put it out there, I explained to them that...
Who funded it?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. When he was in Warialda. So I did explain to them that he was going to the school in Bingra and they were putting money up for that, and our funding for him was left over from our grazing that was having him there. And I've also put it out there that Carol's has been in Bingra at the hospital has been advertised on the Wider Shire webpage, but it's not being funded by council. That poster was just done, so it was on there. So I'm just putting it out there because they were...
The Justin Herald thing's open to everybody.
Yes.
And I'd recommend anyone that hasn't had him speak, go. I think I'll go the second time. He's very, very good speaker.
Yeah. I just wanted to put it out there because the chamber were questioning.
When's he coming back?
He will be here on the 30th of October.
Yeah. There you go now. 6 minutes. Okay. Councillor Egan.
Look, I don't have a lot. I did go to the country mayors, but that was back in August.
Yeah.
Interesting. That was our neighbouring council, Sahana. But other than that, I haven't got anything to report. I think this covered it all. I did the rates collection.
All right, thanks. Well, I'll go on with mine if you like. Firstly, I'd like to thank those involved with the Tim Payne Oval, with the signs and...
You see the picture of that?
I haven't. I've got to go down and look at it on the way home. But I know that. That is very. Yeah. Well, that's been there's a function on the weekend. I'm not sure which day.
Sunday.
On Sunday, it's doing that.
Yeah.
I've got to go and look. I haven't found out when it was. Anyway, that's. Good thing. I think there wasn't one anti-comment about naming it Tim Payne Oval, which is really good, because there was an attempt earlier, a few years ago, and it was down. Okay.
Sad part about it is Quarles, you might realise what it's all about.
No, he won't. I had also an email from our Border Regional Councils group, and Councillor Colton attended that on my behalf last meeting. And you might be able to shed some light on this, but they're requiring us to sign an MOU with the Queensland councils so that we can work cooperatively. It goes, I'll just give you the headings, as economic development, tourism, livability, infrastructure, disaster management are the areas that we're looking at. Infrastructure, we're the lead council. And I'll just read a little bit here where you may be interested in. If we sign this, where will I find it? Oh, yeah. Either party may at any time withdraw from this MOU without legal consequence by providing 30 days written notice to the other party. I would be... Do you want to speak on this, David? You know,
well, when they brought it up, I sort of thought to myself, it said an adjoining council. So you've got...
So we begun the Windy, right?
We began to, or whatever its name is this week, because Tenterfield is with...
Warwick. No. Warwick's whatever it's called. It's Warwick.
Anyway, so, and then Morley's with
Gundy.
And further out.
And Ballon.
Yeah. So and I sort of thought, well, we don't really join any of them, but we do.
Yeah, very close. So
I was wondering who we were going to MOU with, and I suppose going to India or.
Well, I'm not sure whether we even will, but all I'm seeking from the meeting is permission to sign it if that's the case. I think it's harmless, and I think MOUs aren't really worth the paper they're written on. But
I noticed that also in reply to those, there's a lot of fellas, two of those councils that are in process with their MOUs are not going to have them ready as.
No, I saw that.
At 10 or 15, so.
And I don't see like Cunnamulla wouldn't be in it.
See, we haven't approached anybody, and nobody's approached us, to the best of my knowledge.
So maybe it doesn't concern us. I don't know. I'm just sort of letting the meeting know and asking for the meeting to allow me to use my discretion with that.
Yes, I agree.
Okay. The other thing I want to report to you on is that I went to Gravesend Council in England when I was overseas and had a half a day with them. I was really, the reason I ended up there was because Leah was going and she dobbed me and said, "Oh, I'm going over later." So I fronted up and met them and treated like royalty. They obviously very different council to ours, but they were similar in the fact that they bring people up through their organisation. I've had a long conversation with the head of finance there, and he'd been there 22 years, and he'd started off down the bottom, worked up. So I was able to say, well, this is what we do.
Up to Helen.
Yeah. Helen started it off. And, but anyway, it was an interesting experience, and at some stage Leah may go over and I'm certainly giving her a big rap. They'll be looking for something pretty good.
She's a better not sure. Might disappoint.
But it was an interesting exercise, and Gravesend, it's being recorded, but Gravesend itself is a very high Indian community, Sikh religion, and nothing to do with that at all, but it's not a terribly desirable place. For instance, they were really good to me, and they organised a paid car park for me to park a car and no charge and all of that. It's all very good. But in that car park, every here and there, there's grass this high, and it didn't leave with a big impression. But then after the meeting, we walked on down and had a look at the foreshore where it goes onto the Thames, and absolutely beautiful. But I'll tell you what, the reception we got, the car, it's quite different. It's in the vicinity of 40 councillors, and they meet bi-monthly, and they have very little to do really. It's they rubber stamp stuff that the executive have done. And it's almost completely run by executive.
Sounds pretty good.
Yeah. The meeting is wonderful, and it's and as I mentioned, the grass. So don't worry about that. But it was what's interesting, and the mayor is a part of the Labor Party, which is the ruling party there at the moment. Not always, but at the moment. So he's been selected by his people for a 1-year term. They get rid of him, put another one in. Right? So all the mayor does is go and represent at functions. And it was quite interesting when we were there. We said, well, we better get a photo. So he's got a personal driver, chauffeur. So the chauffeur went into a cupboard lock thing and undid it all and came out with all his regalia, the coat, and he's got a hat and the chain of office, and he's asked me about my chain of office, and you've all seen it. They gave me a dog chain there when I first started.
And it suits you.
I would rather that not be recorded on that. But anyway, it was interesting, and he's, as I said, an Indian and a Sikh, and they built a what do you call it, a mosque, built a mosque. All with voluntary labour, all with funds raised within the community, and it is the most opulent, grand building you'd ever seen. He took us down to that, and I had to put a funny hat on and go in, and I had to sit on. We're supposed to sit
photographic evidence.
Supposed to sit cross-legged on the floor. Well, I can't do that. I sat on the
down Gravesend here, named after that one. Is there a tie up there?
I didn't. Don't know.
Yes,
I would have thought so.
That's why I was going. Yeah, there is a time.
What the difference in population is?
Oh yeah, I can't remember what this was. 100,000 something.
106,000 in England. What's
250.
I thought 106. We just lost 3 noughts.
Yeah. But anyway, it was a great experience, and well received. The mayor, I said to him, I'm sorry for mucking up your day. And he said, no. He said, when I knew you were coming, he said, I cancelled everything. I've devoted the day to you. And his wife did the cooking for us. And he, as I said, he's got a personal chauffeur who the mayor decided we'd walk everywhere, but the chauffeur drove behind us in case someone tripped on him.
Don't you go getting any ideas, John?
We should go back.
I certainly don't want a robe or a chain. If that's anyway, that was pretty good. That's all I have to report.
And I just did a couple of things since you mentioned me, Rob. The Historical Society, not the Historical Society, AGM. Faye Keynes is the president for another 6 months, and they're grooming another person to take it.
Okay.
And also the formation of Warriolda Community Warriors.
Yes.
I went to that and with the going forward, and that's why I asked how the city was going down.
That's
in relation to what the CWA.
That's the op shop, though.
That's the op shop.
Yeah. At Bradburn Building. Is that right?
So that was very good and very positive, and I think it's a good way forward.
Good.
I do too. I think it'll be great.
Yeah.
I'm just a bit concerned about the other one that's in there as well. But anyway.
Things and odds that.
Yeah, it does seem at odds, and I'm just wondering whether it's something that they've probably come forward with, as there was none, but now we could end up with two.
Oh, really?
But that one's they're only calling it part-time, so maybe they'll back off. I don't know.
What's the
CWA op shop DA that's in there.
that's in opposition to it.
I think they'll be very different.
I'll be doubtful if it goes ahead, because in Bingra, when the op shop started down there, the Salvation Army was coming back.
Oh, yeah.
Then they called for voluntary workers, and they got nothing. So I wouldn't worry about it.
Right, yeah, I read that with interest too. Okay, I think we're done there with this part of the meeting, and I'd ask now that somebody move. Oh, did. What's that? Yeah.
Did you raise your stuff?
He got rid of the lolly. Someone move, we go into confidential session, please. Councillor Egan, Councillor Mulligan, those in favour say aye. Okay, right. Acting GM may like to read those recommendations from that meeting back to the general meeting, please. Yes.
Recommendations from the confidential committee meeting as follows. 7.1 confidential organisation and community services report. That the report be received. Item 16.3 tender for supply of binder materials for stabilisation works. Recommendation that a list of recognised contractors be invited to quote for the proposed supply and delivery of binder materials for stabilisation works as a panel contract comprising the following companies, subject to agreement of terms and conditions. Greymount Australia Proprietary Limited, The Minings Proprietary Limited, Wagner Cement Proprietary Limited. Further, council declines to accept tender GWY _2023 _T01 from Earthco Projects Proprietary Limited. Further, provide delegated authority to the General Manager to conduct all relevant functions under the panel contract.
Thank you. Would somebody like to move that we adopt those as on the general meeting? Councillor Smith and seconded Councillor Mulligan. Motion, those in favour say aye. Carried. There be no further business. There is further business.
There's been a Teams meeting taking place this morning that I've just had on the screen because it was important about the Regional Emergency Road Repair Fund, which Transport or the state government, I should say, announced a week or so ago, and we were unaware of what the funding amounts were. It's looking like, so go back a step, we've got the Regional Local Road Repair Program, which is a $4.2 million cash splash. When that came, it was given to every council in New South Wales, including metropolitan ones. The new Labor Minister for Regional Roads wrote to councils and advised that she wished to address the inequity in that area. Jenny Aitchison. She's since done that and announced another $390 million for 93 councils. And the split is based on road length. I've been doing some rough sums and I'm thinking it's going to be about $7 million.
That's incredible.
And line here, council will receive 100% upfront payment of the grant funding when the funding is
even better. Yeah. It's about time.
Just when the money runs out, or it doesn't run out.
I won't hold you. Well, I will. We'll hold you the 7 million. You'll put in whatever shortfall may be.
Yeah.
Good. A minute that. Okay, thanks, Alex. Well, that does conclude the meeting. I think lunch will be available. And thank you all for your attendance. Declare the meeting closed.